Welcome back to the Chicken Ranch Homestead. This is Rob. On the homestead, we do more than just raise livestock. We also do some side hustle. What I do is I do wood turning of pens, stoppers, and I also do a lot of diamond pens. My sister got me doing them, so I do this a lot now, and it brings in a little extra cash, helps pay for feed. What we're going to turn today is a piece of Spectra ply. I believe it's called Dark Night. I've already cut this up. I've drilled it with a 7/32 drill. And I always put a little bit of super glue on the end. This stuff tends to split under centers at times. So I put that on there and it helps stiffen it up and usually keeps it together. I'll show you my process all the way from start to finish. I will speed up through sanding. Okay. What I do is I put it between centers and I get it somewhat tight. I'm using a Win 3240T lathe. It's a little pocket size. It does the job. It's not that great. It needs some issues worked out from Win, especially the tool rest, because the tool rest is way too high. Okay, we'll get started. I'll turn this up. We'll see what it comes out as. Speed, I don't know. I just crank it up and we go from there. Tighten it down, that helps. Because we're turning through centers, we're just relying on friction. So sometimes I will stop it, being a little too aggressive. Also, this tends to come loose. Don't mind the rooster in the background. He's just showing off because he knows that he can be heard. Yeah, he's standing at the door. Now he's got all the roosters going, I can hear in the distance. the way, this is a Robert Sorby tin coated 1/2 inch spindle gouge. Stop and see where we're at. The lathe is underpowered. It's only a 1/3 horsepower, and it's a variable speed, so it has no torque. It's all just RPM, so it tends to stall out or stop. Pretty close to center, good enough. I don't make it pretty in the beginning, doesn't matter. Take my scale out. These are usually 5-inch blanks. I'll measure 2.5. And then I kind of just make some markings to go from there. Go 1 inch out. And we'll go another inch. Does it mean anything? No. I'll mark it up. Using my pen that I messed up. Forgot to put the clip on it. Okay. Go back to the bowl gouge or spindle gouge and go from there. Come in here and I always like 45 it. I try to get close to my point, because then when I put in the plastic tip, it kind of sits flush and it flows a little bit, but not perfect. I usually don't have a plan when I make these. Sometimes I do. Usually I do not. Whatever it comes out to be, it's what it comes out to be. Give it more of a radius here. When you're working with SpectraPly, sometimes it's also nice to watch your colors and try to make sure that you're the same all around. So I'm purple, purple, then I'm down in that groove in purple and purple. This one's almost gone, so that'll probably go away with sanding. So we'll stop. With this lathe, I tend to actually take it out at this point, and I actually flip it. Why, I don't know. If I don't have a lot of room here on my tailstock, I just need to get a new live center. I just have it. Back to the spindle gouge. Again, kind of close, but not too close. Now I kind of gotta watch how tight I get this, because I can really split this easily now with too much pressure. I had someone review one of my pens lately. They were talking how skinny they are, and he got one of the skinnier ones. This one will be a fatter, it fits in your hand a little bit better, especially if you got bad hands like me. But I also make them pretty skinny at times. Right now it don't look so good. We'll fix her. I tend to round my corners. Every now and then I will leave a sharp corner, but not always. Like I said, the markings never really mean nothing. This one's off center quite a bit, but sometimes I like that, even though I'm very OCD. Well, I think this will work. It'll probably fit pretty good in hand. I usually take it out and I will check it. If it's okay, I can feel support back here while this is tight. Here, it seems like if I was pushing a lot, it'd be good, because there's a lot of support right behind it. So I'll go with this. And if anyone ever had questions or like on sizes, they can just contact me. I'll leave a link for my Instagram and my Etsy store in the description. So then we usually sand up to about 400. I turn the lathe all the way down. Let's try this. I try to keep moving non-stop with this stuff. It is a dyed birch. And it's actually got water-soluble ink in it, or dye. So when you're doing this, and you go clean it up. Oh, there's the quail. When you use water or denatured alcohol to clean it up, it will start removing the dye. So you can't really dye this, or sorry, excuse me. You can't really use denatured alcohol on this or water to clean it up. What I do is I sand it and then I varnish it, so to say, with a rag. I'll speed up here and I'll finish sanding, and I'll get back to you on the other side. Okay, it's done to 400 and it is smoking hot today. It's like 80 degrees, but the humidity level is about 90. And what I do is I take a somewhat painter's rag, clean towel. And what I do is I kind of varnish this, or at least that's the term I use. And kind of put a little bit of pressure on it. You have to be careful with this because it might catch and pull the rag out of your hand. That's why I really don't grab onto it. It's really just in my hand, laying there. I'll stop it and take a look. It's not too shabby. Okay. What I do now is I will seal it. I use Mylan's sanding sealer, kind of like everyone else on YouTube and a lot of wood turners. I do it a little bit differently for applying. I kind of apply it like CA glue. This stuff dries pretty quick. You can see it pulls some of the dye off because there is a little bit of chemical in here. It's shellac based, I believe, with a little bit of alcohol. I always give them 2 coats. Tend to rub it in a little bit. I said this stuff dries pretty quick. And I actually save that rag. I do use it later. It's already dry. So what I do now is I take a white Scotch-Brite pad. Then I'll take all the grain, the high spots off from it being sealed, and with the grain being raised from it. It's not like raising the grain with water, but we'll raise some. At this point, I tend to determine what finish I'm going to put on it. Most pens I do a CA finish. Sometimes I will do natural. With this one, I am going to do a CA finish. It's just going to take a little bit of time. I'll show the process that I do. I might speed it up a hair. I got an old dirty nasty towel. Keep the glue off the bottom. I use Bob Smith glue. It's actually a different bottle. I'm going to take a rag. You should probably wear gloves or something because you tend to get glue through your rag and it sticks to your fingers. And then you get a little cloth finger. The first couple that I do with this super thin, I let it dry on its own. I don't use accelerator. Accelerator could turn it white or make it kind of rough. So I let it cure on its own. But I'm not one that pulls out another strip of towel to put another coat on. I use the same towel all the way through, all coats, from my thin to my medium. I usually do 5 to 6 coats of CA. This bottle about empty. I just let it wick it out itself. Tend to get in the corners here because it will build up a little bit. Stop it, see how it's looking. It's looking pretty good. Pretty dull, but still pretty good. Not too much. That's all right. That's it for the thin. As that dries, I go on to Bob Smith medium. I usually do 2, sometimes 3 coats. And in this world, I use a little Type-On accelerator. I found this one I like the best. I've used pretty much all of them. This is the one I like the best. Medium. Pretty much what I'm using the rag for is just to level it out. Little accelerator. Okay. Because I tend, if I don't, I would have a bunch of ridges. Now I'll take a look. It's looking pretty good. It's starting to shine. I think we could probably go 1 more coat. And this coat kind of keeps you from having to oil your wood, or it just keeps it looking shiny and neat. If we do a natural finish, it will end up patinaing and you'll have to oil it if it gets too dry or something. You know, put a little beeswax on it. But with this finish, you're kind of done. Look at it. It's dry throughout. Then I go on to micro mesh. Micro mesh is 1500 grit all the way up to 12,000. Some people will start with 800. I don't. I just start at the 1500. Mine's a little worn out, but black walnuts in the rough. What I'm doing is I'm listening. I look for slurry of the high spots breaking down of the super glue. But I also can hear where it's rough. So I know I need to polish it more. Right there, it's pretty smooth. It's just got some grit sounding from it being dirty. We just keep on going. What can happen is you can take too much off of that spot there, and then you'll have no glue. Okay. And at these other grits, I really don't spend a lot of time on them. Pass or two. It's already pretty smooth. All we're doing is smoothing it out a little more, giving it more of a glass-like finish. Usually I do this a little bit different. And I'll have my finger running across it to feel the surface. And I can kind of tell if it needs a little more or I need to go back. So it feels pretty good. Last one. Okay, stop it. We'll wipe it off with a clean rag. And it does waterproof it. And there you go, it's pretty shiny, it looks pretty good. I'm not seeing anything major standing out right now. So I go on to the next step of finishing. What I do is I use some Axe abrasive paste. Most wood turners use it here on the channels of YouTube. What I do is I just rub this in. It's got a fine abrasive to it. I believe they say it's at like 15,000 grit too. I can't remember off the top of my head. A little more. The trick to this stuff is when we're turning it on and we're running it, is listen. And when it stops sounding abrasive and goes smooth, you're done. I can hear nothing there. Even with the stuff on the rag, it'll go pretty silent. A little bit over here. What I do is I wipe it off, the excess. Okay, that's pretty much done. Pretty shiny. But we take one more step. We use the restoring paste. Is mineral oil beeswax carnauba wax. So we'll get the wax finish. And some people complain that I use the same rag all the way through. Yeah, I do. I do fold it to a clean section. Seems to work well through the years. Everyone finishes different. So I rub that in. This is kind of heat based. A little schmutz in there. So when you put heat in it, better the wax builds up. So I turn up the lathe a little bit and I give her a little bit of pressure. I can feel it heating up. I don't want to be burning my finger, but I definitely want it warm. Kind of clean her off. Okay. Now it's done. Now it's nice and shiny. That's pretty much a finished product. Take this off. Wipe the ends. We don't have any buildup, which is good. I'll grab a couple points. I buy them off of Amazon, off these other pens, and I take them out and I install them on this. I've noticed a lot of diamond painters have their own choice in tips, so I include some tips, but I know people will put on their own. That fits nice into the hole that I drilled originally. It's always just random, but there it is. That is Black Knight, or I'm sorry, Dark Knight Spectre ply. It's from CWP Products, I believe. They're in Maine. It's a birch plywood, dyed with a water soluble dye. And I will have this up on my Etsy store sometime here in the near future. Thanks once again for watching Chicken Ranch Homestead. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, thumbs up, all that stuff. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. And check out my Etsy store, which I'll link in the description for the diamond pens. Thanks again.